Climate change is a real issue that needs to be addressed through a participatory approach by all stakeholders, including businesses. All segments of society are vulnerable to the effects of climate change, and each must contribute to mitigate its adverse impact. We at the Lalit Suri Group have adhered to the highest standards as expected from a responsible corporate citizen in terms of minimizing the carbon footprint. As our contribution to the Green Drive, we have planted more than 5 lakh trees across Delhi, Bangalore and Khajuraho. We use solar energy in all our hotels. We have water treatment plants that allow us to recycle water. We also use LED lamps that help in energy saving. We take a pledge to continue with these efforts and do more wherever possible, and hopefully lead by example, as tackling climate change is everybody's responsibility.
Climate change is a reality, and none know this better than India's 90 million farm households whose very livelihood is at stake. For them, mitigation is definitely a long-term goal, but urgent need is adaptation. CVC biorefineries, collaborating with international technology leaders, Beta Renewables and Novozymes, are building second-generation biorefineries in India. Agricultural residues will be processed to cellulosic ethanol, bio-CNG, liquid CO2, and compost, thus mitigating greenhouse gas emissions as well as environmental pollution. Also providing opportunities to farmers to migrate to less water-intensive, more remunerative horticulture and animal husbandry activities. This is just one instance of industry contributing to India's low-carbon growth path, while also addressing the needs and issues of the most vulnerable segments of society.
At Dalmia, the philosophy is clean and green philosophy is profitable and sustainable. And secondly, our vision is to be a leader in building materials and to create pride in all stakeholders through customer centricity, sustainability, innovation and values. And when we talk of this philosophy and the vision, then definitely the clean climate comes first. The more we focus on clean climate, more we focus on renewable energy, more we focus on using waste, it will be making us more profitable also, more sustainable also. Now, like sustainability, part and parcel of our DNA.
Our program goes back to 2008, when we actually rolled out a formal climate action program, which was built around energy efficiency and renewables. And in 2011, we made a commitment to become carbon neutral. And in 2014, when RE100 was launched, we were the first company in India to join the RE100 movement. And in 2016, we joined CPLC, Carbon Pricing Leadership Coalition, and earlier this year, in January 2017, we announced an internal carbon price. As I said, our program was built on energy efficiency and renewables, and they carry a clear business case and cost savings. Since 2008, our program saved hundreds of millions of units of electricity, and that translates into tens of millions of US dollars in cost saving and a corresponding improvement to our bottom line. And as an IT services company, we operate in the B2B space. Our commitment and performance and climate change has been deeply appreciated by our clients. And increasingly, it is becoming a differentiator in the marketplace for us.
We are deeply aware of the seriousness and gravity of the situation with respect to climate change. We are proud of the fact that the Indian government's commitment to climate change, duly represented in our commitments under our INDS submitted recently, shows a massive way forward for renewable energy. We do believe that the 2-degree control point has been reached, and that's a significant point for this current generation and the future generation. We are deeply committed to be able to provide as much clean and renewable energy as possible to further the national as well as international objectives of climate adaptation and mitigation. Thank you very much.
Time is running out. If we have to save our societies and businesses for unprecedented climate change, we must limit the global temperature rise. We must act now. An orderly transition to low carbon economy provides an opportunity to make many winners.
For the last 5 years, we have set up solar power plants supplying power to many of the leading Indian companies. At Kiran Energy, we set up large ground-mounted plants, several megawatts, that supply power to the grid and then we power to these companies, allowing them to have solar energy as their main supply of electricity. We employ hundreds of people to build these solar plants and are part of the growing Green Jobs program in India. I believe that we've demonstrated that solar power is economical, reliable, and assures power over a 25-year time frame. The companies we have worked with are now leading the way for many to follow, including companies, commercial organizations, institutions, also universities, hospitals, airports, and even railway stations as they look to use solar energy as their preferred electricity source. It is our aim to convince the top 100 companies of India to use renewable energy for a majority of their power needs. I feel confident that this effort will succeed. Thank you.
At Larsen & Toubro, we're not only sharply focused on building a sustainable environment, but we also believe we have a very important role in helping others, companies, society at large, in building a green future for themselves and for the world. Since 2008, we have conserved about 57 million units of electricity. 28 of our campuses have zero wastewater discharge. 5 are water positive. We have 14 green buildings, and we have India's first green factory at Vadodara. In our role as corporate enablers for a green future, we build green buildings for our marquee clients. We execute mass rapid transit systems. We build clean oil refineries, coal gasification plants, and ultra supercritical power plants, all of which improve the green quotient. The road to a green future for the world is a long one, but we at Larsen & Toubro believe that every step counts.
So the opportunity for a country like India is huge if you look at the spaces that climate action suggests. India has very polluted, very congested cities. So how does that help climate action? Well, it helps because we have to look at whether it is the fuel we use in our cars or the energy efficiency of our buildings or the whole space around transportation and mobility in order to ensure that we can reduce congestion and reduce pollution.
We at the Muthoot Group feel that addressing global climate change is our social responsibility. All our divisions are thus encouraged to act responsibly to create a sustainable tomorrow. We have built one of the first eco-friendly schools in New Delhi, the Paul George Global School. Through the green technologies and infrastructure in the school, we inculcate in our young citizens, our students, a sense of environment consciousness right from their formative years. Our leisure and hospitality division has been facilitating recycling of old newspapers for making eco-friendly paper bags. The division has also set up an eco-cell plant to enable waste management for its houseboats in Kerala. None of our hotels use plastic bottles for drinking water, but only glass bottles. We are also using solar energy in our hospitality division, while our power generation division generates clean energy through wind electric generators. The plantation and estates division has been promoting organic farming in Kerala. The Muthoot Environment Research Foundation has also been working towards preservation of forests in the Periyar Tiger Reserves in Kerala. As responsible corporates, we must all have a strong sense of urgency with regards the issue of climate change. Let us all act now to avoid the disastrous consequences of climate change.
Yeah, we're quite focused on the energy transitions as they come, and our CEO Ben has really emphasized, one, that the next 100 years is going to be very different than the last 100 years. And of course, he's gone on record to say his next vehicle is going to be an electric vehicle. And I think that gives you a fairly good indication of how serious that he takes this entire conversation. He has tasked 9 countries across Shell to begin with, which are the pivotal countries, to take a look at energy transitions and specific to the countries. What is recognized is that the transition will be different country by country. Each one will have its own sort of flavor rather than to have a uniformity across the world. And I think that's quite deeply insightful to come in and say that we all have our unique characteristics and each one will have its own sort of definition as to what the energy transition will be and what it could look like. So we've been hard at work to take a look at both the risks that this represents, but also the opportunities that this represents in terms of the way that we will handle the transition. A couple of things that really come out to us is clearly we need to have a lot more collaborative platforms. We work very closely with the Energy Transition Commission, the global platform that was created, but we're actively working in countries across all the 9 countries to create more platforms that brings in diverse voices onto the table, that there's a balanced and reasonable perspective as to what some of the changes can be and how we can all work together to resolve some of the solutions. So that's the collaboration piece. But the second piece, of course, is innovation. And innovation, not just in technology, as I spoke about earlier, but innovation in terms of business models and approaches, and how do we start to take a look at new ways of defining the energy system and creating economic values.
Syndicatum Sustainable Resources is an owner, developer, operator, investor in renewable energy projects in India and Southeast Asia. We invest and develop projects both in solar, sugar cogeneration and landfill to gas. We are pioneers in this development across this sector. We have been in existence since 2006 and are firmly focused in developing renewable energy projects in India. Our forte in India is bagasse to sugar cogen to bagasse projects. Objective is to set up 500 megawatts of these projects. We at Syndicatum urge governments to come up with a strategic climate action agenda supported by clear and consistent policies and roadmap that will complement businesses, stimulate innovation as well as collaborative actions across value chains, and to develop and scale up to renewable energy and other low carbon options and technologies to meet the growing energy needs in a sustainable manner. Thank you.
India is going through a very unique confluence of a tremendous shift in the market economics of power, particularly solar power, but all renewable power, and a very, very determined government. And that creates a context within which almost everybody in the ecosystem can benefit. And for example, corporate procurers of power today can buy renewable power at a significant discount to old grid power, often fueled by coal. And isn't that exciting when you can do what's right and also, frankly, save tremendous costs across your energy procurement value chain? For investors, it's a wonderful opportunity. The scale, India is going to become the third largest solar market this year from number 5. And the scale of the opportunity is huge. Obviously, pension investors in the north and west are seeking yield in a low yield environment. And countries like India offer massive opportunities on large scale to deploy infrastructure and get good long-term annuities that can then balance the books for pensioners. So it's a very exciting confluence right now, and frankly, I expect a J-curve revolution in the next 2 to 3 years in Indian solar power and renewable power more generally, which will benefit everyone in the business value chain.
So a number of Tata Group companies clearly are responsible for significant emissions. If you look at our steel company, our power company, which has a significant thermal power generation capability, a motor car company, our chemicals company, all of them in some form or fashion are impacting carbon emissions and have thereby an impact on the environment. In all of these spaces, we're investing heavily in new innovation and research and development to try and reduce our emissions, and indeed to look at different business models through which we can perhaps completely eliminate the use of carbon-related fossil fuels. So to give you an example, in Tata Steel, the Hisar project is really calculated. It's an international collaborative effort in the steel industry intended to reduce emissions in the steel industry and steel making by at least 20% over the next 3 years. Likewise, in the power sector, we've taken a commitment to generate 40% of our power or electricity through renewable sources by 2025. So 40% is going to be a significant change from where we are currently, where we're largely a thermal power focused entity. So between innovation, between new business models, I think we are committed to doing our bit to helping the environment and to reducing our emission footprint.
The reason for taking action on climate is so important to ThyssenKrupp is, firstly, we have to have a coalition. We have to have a joint alignment on the fact that all of us have to come together to save this planet. The second bit is, I think we do realize that as manufacturers of steel, we have a significant carbon footprint ourselves. Our Scope 1 emissions are about 30 million tons, so we are deeply conscious we need to reduce that. But what is even more important is that 90% of our full value emissions happen when our consumers use our product. So collaboration is fundamental to our ability to reduce our carbon emissions. So coming together, working with groups is fundamental to our strategy.
We at Welspun Energy have pledged to build 5 gigawatt of solar and wind plants throughout the country in next few years. Through our plants, over their lifetime, we would be reducing around 2 billion tons of carbon dioxide. We will provide around 14 billion units of electricity to the grids and provide electricity to around 19 million people. We firmly believe that the energy challenge is addressable. We being such a small startup company have been able to do more than a gigawatt in last 5 years and are aspiring to do 5 gigawatt over next few years. So for large corporation, government and other private institution, it is a very much doable goal. We should all pledge to reduce carbon footprint across the world and make planet sustainable, we don't deserve to deprive our next generation of the natural resources which we inherited from our parents and grandparents. Thank you.
I believe every citizen of the planet has a responsibility to preserve the planet for our children, grandchildren, and future generations. WOCAT as an organization is fully aware of this responsibility. In fact, we have constructed our corporate office 15 years back and it was a green. We have constructed recently a new hospital in South Mumbai which has LEED Platinum rating certification. We have undertaken to reduce water consumption in our manufacturing plants in Aurangabad by 60% in the next 5 years. I believe all of us on this planet should take a pledge to preserve our planet for future generations in a time-bound manner and with specific goals.